kidding. Just kidding.
Dink.
Easy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another weekly Hangout with the Mod Zoo. This is our 10th episode officially, going to be episode number 3 of our Worklog series. Potentially wrapping up the Worklogs, but we may end up having more questions as you guys digest the information we've given you so far. With me today, we have our usual duo of Bill.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Chris, the Modsquito.
Hey! Figured I had to get in on the 3D action.
Yeah. And a new addition to the weekly Hangout, we have Stu.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Ah!
Nubosaurus in the house.
Yes, Nubosaurus.
Finally.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, sir. All right. So, yeah, all of the stuff that's been going on recently, non-Mod Zoo related. Feeling the pain of building my kids a jungle gym. That was quite the annoyance, but well worth it. They've broken it in today quite nicely. Getting to enjoy the warm weather finally.
Yes.
Did you custom paint it or Dynoc wrap it? Anything like that?
I custom didn't break the thing when it started not cooperating.
Well done.
Did you have a bunch of screws left over wondering, oh, whatever, screw it. It's together.
I'd had about a dozen washers left over, and I made sure that I was double checking everything by the end, but I'm going, that looks wrong, man.
I got to go to the cabin the first time this weekend.
This.
First time of the season.
Oh, man.
Never gets old.
Ah, beautiful.
Looks like you've been the only person there, too. The lake was
Pretty
empty.
close. It was probably, we saw, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 other groups of people, and I'd say probably 4 or 5 of them were sailboat people, because they store all the sailboats in the middle of where all of our trailers are in the winter, and so they were all out there painting and buffing and cleaning and all that stuff before they put them in, but good stuff.
You know what my in-laws do is they like to go to the lake and watch everybody go to the boat launch. They just sit up their lawn chairs
Oh,
in
yeah.
their cooler and just watch the entertainment, the arguments transpire between spouses about backing up the truck.
I once watched somebody with an RV trying to put a boat in, and they were on the...
An RV?
Yeah, they had an RV, and then the boat was behind the RV, and I saw... So the boat slips, or the boat ramp at our harbor is 2, so there's one boat launch, but then they have like a dock down the middle, so there's 2 sides. Mm-hmm. One side has a big wall, because that's where the crane is for the really big boats, and he was trying to put in that side. And so he was trying to get the trailer to straighten out, but in the process he had it turned, and so he backed the corner of his RV right into that wall. I'm like, yep, way to go.
Man.
We saw our family cabin is, well, it's across this bay from like the public boat launch on the lake we're on. And I was maybe like 6 or 7 at the time. We were out on the dock at night, we had a bench out there just hanging out. We watched somebody back their whole trailer and truck down into the lake. The guys out there, keep coming. The wife kept coming, and then all of a sudden the truck's going in, and the kid, go forward. I think she punched the gas, and it just went right down.
Oh, yeah.
So they're out there for probably 2 or 3 hours just screaming at each other the whole time. Eventually tow truck comes, pulls the boat out. It's good entertainment. It's close.
Yeah, we once saw it where because you have that ratchet handle on the front to pull the boat up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Totally, they forgot to set the lock on that, and so they ratcheted it up, but then they got it so far, and then they got like part way up the ramp, and it just started sliding off the trailer. So everybody's like, "Whoa, stop, stop!"
Yeah, pure entertainment. So, Moss,
So
anything new at the zoo?
Probably. I think I got finally the review sample of the Streacom case, which is
yeah.
I'll have to do a sort of an overview video of that, of the sort of not really an unboxing, but kind of an unboxing, because I think that's the first time we've had it's a completely passive cooled case, which is kind of interesting. I don't think we've had one of those yet. So this is what it looks like. Not my picture, obviously. This is their website. But yeah, so that was one of the most recent samples that I got in. I got that on, I think, Thursday. So that'll be the next one up for me after the Deep Cool Dew case, which is getting there. I'm almost done with that one. And then I think we have the Fractal Design Define S Nano stacked up behind that. And then Graham still has the Fantex P400S, some Cooler Master keyboards. Jesse's still got the Fantex Power Combiner, Thermaltake Core P5, their wall PC, and ASIO mechanical keyboards. And then our very own Jeremy here, I think, has a couple of mice on the way. I don't know if they're in his possession yet or not, but they're on the way if he doesn't have them yet.
Yep, I got them last week, and I just need to actually take them into work with me and start using them.
Nice. So yeah, we have, I don't know, Stu, do you have anything on the way?
Nothing on the way. I still have Noctua fans. The Chromax, the color accessories. I took pictures for. I haven't gotten around. We did a product announcement, and then I just have some pictures I was going to share. So I got to get that up still. But other than that, nothing.
So many fans, so little time. Fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just don't want to let our fans go. Yeah, so it sounds like we have quite the healthy backlog of review things. So this summer and coming months should hopefully have some reviews coming out here soon.
Yeah. Don't forget, guys, that we're the one site, as far as we know, that actually put a liquid line in our cases when we review them. Now that Streacom one, I think that's going to be an exception to the rule. Unless Moss has got something.
Is that mounted? Is there a cooling solution in the case?
Yep. It's cooled, and it's got heat pipes that connect right to your motherboard. So should be interesting.
Yeah.
Nice little home theater.
Is that any spec? Is it a certain? Do you have to get a specific board, or is it any ITX board will fit in there?
You'll have to watch the reviews, Stu.
All
But
right, I will.
they have a guide on their site to kind of tell you, like the FC5 model, the max TDP that they suggest is 70. Well, that they say you can use is 73. That's in ideal conditions, they say. So if you have good air, circulation around the case and all that kind of stuff, they suggest, I think, 65, which is pretty common for like your i3s and your lower end APUs. So that shouldn't be a problem. And then for the motherboards, they have a whole bunch of things that basically the big thing is that you can't have giant MOSFET coolers and stuff, or your RAM or whatever between where the heat pipes go and where the processor is. So they have some examples of motherboards that work for that and whatnot. So luckily I already have the requisite motherboard, and you have to use either one of their specific proprietary power supplies or a Pico power supply, but
Gotcha.
Okay.
It's all things you would know when you get into it, so it's not that bad. But I guess before we jump into the main topic, I will have this feature. So this time around, I picked Gigantia by Insolent Gnome, and this one's been going on for a little while now. I think it's part of the Cooler Master case mod contest, if I'm not mistaken. And he took the CM Elite 130 case, which isn't a very big case, but he's made it big. Like, big.
And it's got legs on it.
Yes. So this is what it looks like compared to, I think that's a Define R4. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So he's been working on some exterior panels for that. It's gonna be pretty sweet, I think, once it's done, and he's gonna be water cooling things, which
Oh, he's got the monsoon reservoir.
I think this was a recent update either yesterday or today.
It's 3 Elite 130 cases.
3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That explains how he got it to be so big.
Oh, I like the reservoir. So
yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
holding the reservoir there. That's pretty clever.
Combine that with the Doom build, and you'll have nightmares for days.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes. It could be a Dune movie theme build, Dave. Although
go.
that's only really hardcore sci-fi fans would know, you know. So, main topic, back on the Worklog series, number 3. One thing that we wanted to cover for you guys and gals is how do you edit a photo down to the right size for the form, and then how do you upload it and then start a Worklog thread and post that photo, because that seems to be one element that a lot of people don't understand how it works. So Moss is going to do a screen share and share the steps with that. So we've got it documented. So if there's anybody that joins the forum and says, I don't understand how to post my pictures, this upload button isn't working for me. So he's going to share the steps in doing that. And then what we're going to each do is share one of our favorite project logs on the forum. And then we'll handle some Q&A. So everybody that is watching through the YouTube channel, you can post your questions if you haven't already for us. So Moss, which editing software? Most of us would use Photoshop, right? Hands up, most of you guys, I presume. And then you can, if you don't have Photoshop, you can go and you can usually get a trial for at least 30 days on their cloud. It's now on the cloud now. So you can do that. Otherwise, GIMP is an alternative free software, right? Shareware for editing photos.
Yeah, it's open source, and it's supposed to be well, I use GIMP Shop, which I don't know how much difference there is between GIMP and GIMP Shop, if there even is one anymore, but GIMP Shop is supposed to be the free Photoshop alternative. Well, I mean, Photoshop is a pretty extensive program, so the free is, I mean, it's not going to be the same thing as Photoshop, but it's supposed to be there for, you know, if you don't necessarily have the money or want to spend the money on Photoshop, then GIMP Shop is a viable option. And I use that actually if I'm at work, if I need to do something quick, because I don't have Photoshop at work because I'm not a graphic designer.
And the companies are going to buy you the Photoshop suite, you know. So you can do stuff that's not work related.
Yeah, so I got this Modzu thing. I just need to, just real quick.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see that working too well. So, yeah, basically, if you don't want to or don't want to use Photoshop, don't have access to it or whatever, that's another option. I usually do use Photoshop because I also shoot my pictures in RAW. So we kind of talked about cameras and that kind of stuff. And when you get into the either high-end point-and-shoots or DSLRs, a lot of times you should have the option to shoot in what they call a RAW format, which is like you have PNGs and JPEGs, and then you have RAW. Well, RAW, there's a whole lot to it that I'm not even going to go into, but basically you get way more granular control over your pictures and things like exposure settings and the brightness of different levels of your picture. So like the shadows you can adjust individually, and the bright spots you can adjust individually, and you can adjust the hue and the saturation and the contrast and everything. So that gets a little bit intense if you want it to, but if you're just shooting like a point-and-shoot camera, you're just getting JPEGs, I like using Photoshop still, just because I like to run and just, they have some adjustments that you can do, and I will share my screen here shortly. They have some adjustments that you can do in Photoshop. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share the picture, if that'll come through or not, but I have a picture here that I'm this is of a thin ITX build. I showed it last week, and I just have a picture that I took of that as a JPEG, but in Photoshop they actually have a lot of adjustments that you can make for the various all kinds of settings like levels and exposure level and brightness and contrast. But one of the first things that I usually try, and it doesn't always work out, is I try the auto color and the auto tone just to kind of see where that gets me.
Yeah, same here.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it just blows the crap out of your picture, but that's okay because you can always undo it as long as you don't save it. And then the other thing too is there's an auto contrast option that I usually try, and I see what that looks like. It'll automatically adjust the brightness. Well, this one apparently didn't adjust a whole lot, but you can also preview that. So if you want it brighter, more contrast, less contrast, whatever, you can do all those kinds of things. And for some reason, I can't share my GIMP shop frame, but what I can do is share a screenshot of GIMP shop. So this is a screenshot of GIMP shop. Of GIMP shop. I don't have a picture loaded in it at the moment, but basically I was just showing that under colors they also have some auto settings for things like white balance and color enhancements, and you can go in and do a lot of the same color adjustments with that, which is something that you might need to do with your pictures depending on the light setup, and that's something that you might not necessarily have as good of control over your light for work log pictures as you would for final pictures. And so if you need to do any editing, that's pretty much all I do as far as editing to my pictures. I don't know if Bill or Stu or Jeremy, if you guys do anything different, so to speak.
No, it all depends, I mean, it's all about the environment and type of lighting that you have. But yeah, the thing is about Photoshop is just go in there and play around. It's really fun to just go in there and tweak it, adjustments, settings, see what things do. Just get lost in it, Basically, for our needs in a project log is resizing the image is probably, cropping whatever your thing is that you're taking a picture of, get it centered in the picture, and then resize the image and save it as a file that you can find somewhere when you go to upload it. And what we prefer on the Mod Zoo is a resolution of 1024 by 768.
Yeah, that's what we use for all of our review pictures, and that's about the biggest we can go before it automatically tries to crop and adjust and stuff. But the biggest I ever use for my work logs is usually around that. Sometimes I have 1600 by 1200, and as long as you save them optimized for web, or basically they're slightly more compressed, then they don't take too long to load. But I don't think I would go any bigger than 16 by 12 because that's already getting kind of big for that, especially if people might be viewing it on a mobile device. I mean, you kind of lose a certain bit once your screen real estate shrinks.
Yeah, well, and it just sucks too if you're going to browse a log and you click it open and it takes forever to load the images. It's just like, why? I don't know. I like to just pull those through logs and just check all the progress and see. Oh, if this is something really cool, okay, I'll take more time and look at this in more detail. But if it takes forever to load the images, it's like, well,
I'm out.
Next, I'm out, exactly.
Yeah.
So I do 1200 by 900 for my stuff, and then I just when I do editing, I use Photoshop as well. It looks like a couple people are using Paint Shop Pro.
Never tried it.
I forgot about that one.
And HPP. I haven't used it at all. So I don't know. But I just for work log stuff, I just do the auto corrections, and then like for a watermark, I use it for a watermark too.
Yeah, we're not going to get into watermarks. when you start, maybe you're trying to create a following, and you see yourself doing more projects, and make a name for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that, for your business net. However, you got to watch out. In some forms, they may perceive that as they don't want a business promoting themselves like that.
Yeah.
Especially,
watch out.
Yeah, I was say especially URLs too. If you put like your website in your watermark, well, not a lot of. I know of at least one forum that will scold you and make you change all your pictures. If you have, like I used to have in one of mine, I had themosquito.com, and they got mad at me because I had the .com, so I just switched it to the Mosquito because it's like, well, whatever.
Yeah. It's BitTech and the Modzoo are good places for my sponsors. Here they are. I mean, we're really open to all that stuff, so it's cool with us. Just don't have these obscene photos, like obscenely large photos on the forum. Anyways, go ahead, Stu.
Oh, I think the one reason I started to was I did a competition. I think it was, well, I don't know, it was like a year and a half ago, and it's like they're gonna show your photos on their website, so I figure I might as well get some marketing out of it if they're gonna be publishing their photos. So I think like if you're doing a contest or something like that, it certainly can't hurt you to get that out
and
there.
you work with sponsors, so you're a great candidate to be on this series because you got into it and you learned how to gain sponsorship on your own by applying yourself to doing nice work logs. Like your current one right now, you've got what, 3 different sponsors on it? It looks like.
I think it might be 4.
Oh wow. Okay, cool.
I'm gaining steam.
Mr. God.
That was sellout. Such a sellout.
Yeah, what the hell?
Hey man, if I'm gonna do it, I might get some stuff out of it. Yeah, I'll spread the love here. So yeah, I don't know, it's been interesting.
So do you?
I'm sure. Oh, go ahead.
Let's have Moss share how he uploads this, or basically just Moss how you grab the URL for the image, and then you start a worklog thread, and how you post that so it's visible for the public to see.
Well, I'm gonna preface this by saying this is going to be an adventure.
Okay.
Because I've never done this before. I mean, okay, so like Bill mentioned, we usually, like, I don't know if he mentioned it this time around yet or not, but when we talked about one of our previous episodes about image hosting, we mentioned we like and prefer to host our own. So I have a couple of URLs, and I have a specific folder that I always use for all my projects, and then I have all my images hosted there. But I understand that not everybody might do that. So what I have, and hopefully my screen share will still work, is Photo Bucket. I'm not sure if I know what I'm doing yet, but I'll pretend until somebody points out how stupid I am.
No worries. Yeah, normally Boss doesn't use this, but a lot of people do. They've got free account and they've got like a professional account where you can pay for it. The thing is, if you're going to get serious about this and posting project logs, and sometimes there's project logs that have been around for years on a solid host that you can still see, but some people who let their Photoshop account lapse over, they're gone. So
that's actually. I was going to say that's actually the only reason I have Photo Bucket is so I could grab some pictures from somebody that was no longer going to be maintaining their site.
Yeah. Well, that was
Wainio.
Yeah, Wainio. Yeah, we rescued those pictures just in case, because of his passing, in case that account lapsed, so the photos are archived. Because all too often we tried to refer back to old project logs that we had seen, and like they're gone. I've experienced the same thing. I had a problem with a host. Some of my project log pictures, they'd be gone. They're all gone. So, but hey, if getting into Photoshop, Photo Bucket and like Imager will get you to come on the forum and start a project log, we're all for it. And then just down the road, if you get more serious about it, then look at, your own hosting if you can.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point that you just made, Bill, is that we're not saying PhotoBucket is bad.
No.
Because anywhere that gets your photos hosted so you can share them is good.
Yes, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But we're just saying is that if you're going to be doing a lot, you might want to look at your own URL where you don't have to worry about them shutting your pictures down. But yeah, we've covered that topic a bit before. So let's see. So apparently I have it uploaded to my bucket now, which is
okay. Looks good. You want to clean that mess up in your shop, though.
It is. It's cleaner since I finished that.
That's clean. Are you kidding me? Look at all that tabletop space.
I know.
Hey, Moss, over there on the side where it says share this photo.
Yep.
Second one.
Yep. So we have under here, which is where Jeremy was talking about, you have all these different options to share your picture, and we don't support the HTML in our forum software, I don't think. And I know this IMG tag might work. I've never actually tried, but we'll find out. Let's see. I'm going to put this... Where do you want me to put this, Bill?
Yeah, we
Right
can
now.
do it in here. That's fine. Just imagine that instead you would go to the project worklog form, but yeah, just as a test, this is fine.
Yep. So and what Bill was talking about was we have a forum set up specifically for project worklogs. It's under Project Central and then member worklogs. So you would go in here and start a new topic if you were going to share a worklog. We also have a whole bunch of other areas too that I don't know everybody has actual access to post, like certain threads we might not allow, like I think a lot of like these staff stuff, you can't go in and create your own thread, but you can respond to what's there. Hopefully now I fixed that. But anyway, if you go in and start a new topic and then give it a name, so Thin ITX Hangout Build, and then in the Modzu, and this might be different on different forums because all of them are different. Obviously, you won't have moderator options because you're not moderators, unless you are a moderator and you're watching, in which case you might. But so tags, you can do things like scratch build or ITX or not
or
water cool.
Sponsor name ASUS EVGA.
Yeah, and we allow tags for that, and you can also prefix yours with the various tags you have. So I want to say, well, I'm going to prefix my build log with the scratch build tag because it's a scratch build. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try pasting that IMG just to find out if it actually works. So that was this one here, bottom option. I tried that one. Otherwise, this one, the second option, which is the direct. And if we take that link and you go in here, you should be able to hit enter here. And then we have the little, where did it go? Everything changed on me.
I've had to do it with insert other media. If you go down.
Oh, down at the bottom. Insert image from URL. There we go.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't posted a worklog since we updated.
Yeah, it's
kind of a pain since you can't do the.
Can't you do the HTML still? I've done it where you do, the bracket IMG.
Yeah, it didn't work on my stuff recently, but I might be doing it incorrectly.
But yeah, so if you're posting your picture, then you'll see that after you've inserted that URL, that second option in PhotoBucket, you'll get the image will show up here, and then you can write whatever you want under it. And I usually try not to write a whole lot when I'm showing pictures, just because I know most people care about the pictures more so than anything else. So I try not to do too much writing when I'm describing my work logs. I like to sort of put a description of stuff at the top, so that way if people want to read it, they can read it, and then if there's a lot of information in between pictures, I know it's going to get skipped anyway, but you know.
If you like to write, though, and author huge descriptions and stories, there are some people that do that, and you know, they enjoy doing. And there's like Eel, for example. He likes to write a lot, and he inserts a lot of humor. If you read his stuff, it's very funny to read his work logs. So whatever works for you, just so they have a basic idea of what's going on. And we've also got people from other countries that really don't speak English that just basically put the photos and may use a translator to put a basic description, and that's fine too. So
Yep,
it looks like you're all ready.
Yeah, and so once we've done all of that, we have our title and we have our tags, and then we've inserted a picture. And if you want to avoid cheapskates yelling at you, what you want to do is make sure you have some sort of modding progress. He doesn't like pictures of parts as your only picture, so progress is good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. And so then after that, you can also check the option to notify me of replies, and there's also, I think, options later for that as well. So that way, if somebody replies to it, you should hopefully get an email. But then you're ready to submit your topic. And now you have a forum thread.
There it is. Awesome.
And then you can,
begins.
if you wanted to go back and say edit your title so that you say, I updated this on April 17th, you know, with whatever. If you wanted to update the title, what you should be able to do is go back into edit, and then you can edit your title to add a date or whatever.
Yep.
Yes.
It's been an update. Check it out.
Which is sometimes kind of nice, but also at the same time, I don't know, sometimes that changes your URL. So like now we have posted 4/17/2016 in the URL. So that is something to keep in mind, at least with our forum software. You know, but yeah, so basically that's posting a work log, and in the ModZoo we have all kinds of options. I don't think certain things will pop up, but we have the share option. So if you wanted to get a link to this particular post, you can hit the share button and it'll link you directly to the work log, and you can get a whole bunch of other different share options and all
I
kinds
haven't
of
used
fun
any of
stuff.
those yet. Have any of you guys tried those social media share things?
I haven't.
I actually use this link every time I share a build feature in one of these Hangouts. I use that because then you can. I just bookmark it in case I close the browser so I can find it. It brings you directly to the actual comment that you were looking at the first time. So.
Oh, nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you for doing that. Good job, man.
Yeah. And then just one more thing. If you haven't discovered this button, the unread content button,
this is our home button, pretty much.
Probably my favorite button in this whole entire app.
What's going on?
Other than the reply button, probably.
Yeah.
Because this brings you to a page that has all the unread content since the last time. Basically, anything you haven't read yet, it gives you a list, which I'm behind because I was out at the cabin this weekend. But you know, and so this is my favorite landing page because then I can catch every update as it goes through.
Absolutely.
And then
what's new and relevant right now? What's going on?
Looks like Boogles McGee posted in What You Drive.
What you drive? What do you drive? Hey guys, by the way, if you want to share what you drive,
or your dream ride,
we got a thread for that.
But yeah, you can either click on the title, which will bring you to the beginning of the thread, or here is a star, which means that I've replied to the topic, but like this one I haven't, so it's a dot. But if you click on that star, it'll actually bring you to the first post that you haven't read. So if you didn't know about that, that's a pretty nice trick.
Cool.
Apparently Minneapolis is only oh, Minot, yeah. That's a boring drive too.
Oh, it's just flat land.
Nothing. Lots of grass.
Great, we got that. Thank you, Moss. That was awesome. So now we got that documented. And if you've got any questions, you still don't understand, go on the forum, register, and just say, hey, and you can go in the Hangout section. And actually, maybe if Moss doesn't delete that, you can reply to that. He'll keep that. You can keep that up for the next week or so.
Well, yeah, I could also move it later. I don't have very many pictures of that build.
And that's actually a project that you haven't started to document online yet. Right?
Nope, I haven't shared the project log for that because I don't have. I'd have to count the total, but I think I only have a total of maybe 6 or 7 pictures of it. But I have like 75 gigs worth of video, so that'll be my first experimentation with a video project log for a Scratch build anyway.
Good luck, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple, so that's why.
Yeah, once you get the rhythm down, video editing, that's a whole other monster, and maybe sometime we'll dive into that a little bit because we do video reviews.
Yeah.
But along with this topic today, I asked the guys, let's share one project log that we like. We periodically check in, or it's an old one that was one of your favorites. I'm going to share something from the Mod Zoo. I'll go first, and it just happens that Stu, aka Nubosaurus, is with us today, and so we actually get to hear some commentary from him. Let me see if I can find that now. Oh, yeah. His fresh meat build, a Dota 2 Scratch build. Yeah, this is this. I think it's since I met Stu before he even posted his first worklog, and what was it, like 5 years ago now, or something like that?
It was like 2.
Oh, was it only 2 years ago? Really? Wow.
It was maybe 2.5. It hasn't been too long.
You've come a long way fast.
I had dormant skills, I should say, I guess. I work as a technician. I do a lot of stuff with my hands. So like all of the working with tools is.
You had relevant skills, just an untapped, expression of your artistic abilities.
There. Yeah. Well said. Well put, Moss.
Well.
So translating it all over has been pretty easy.
You're doing great, man. I think you're an inspiration for anybody else that wants to look into getting into this seriously like you have. And you've got sponsors, like you said. You got 4 different sponsors for this build project. And what I like about your project log is we touched on this when we talked about what aspects of a project log make them great. And I think it's the storyline where you watch the updates and it kind of just the environment. Well, that's one thing I like about Stu's pictures is I get an idea that I'm in the shop with him when I look at these pictures. I get an idea of him working there late at night, and it's quiet, it's peaceful. You're probably listening to some tunes. And there's another thing that Stu does too in his project log is that when he does an update, he always thanks his sponsors. And I don't see him. Usually, most people just announce the sponsors at the beginning or when they've gained sponsorship along the way. And what I like is that you always give them a shout out again when you've done an update. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, I like to do that too. It's not always. Yeah. Sometimes they might ask you to, but none of the ones I've ever had have. But
yeah, and his father is a woodworker, so he's got this kick-ass wood shop to do his stuff in. And what's another thing too is I had an opportunity to go check out this shop and meet his parents, and it's cool that you can see that Stu is carrying on his father's love for woodworking, and he's using his dad's stuff, but he's doing things in his own way, his own style. Stu, I want to ask, what has your dad said about this project? Has he gave you any feedback or input about it?
He does. Sometimes
you're doing it wrong. No.
Well, there's some of that, yeah. Sometimes I have to ask him for help on stuff because I've done a lot more work with metal. So metal's my universe, sheet metal, that kind of stuff. So I'm much more comfortable with that. Where the woodworking is newer to me, so it's a little harder to get my head around stuff. Or I'll ask him like, okay, how would you do this? How would you assemble this? And some stuff he'll say, oh, this is going to be way too weak. You shouldn't do it this way because it'll break. And he has a real tendency of building brick shit houses, as the expression goes. So he over fortifies everything. So some of what I have done while working with him is kind of filtered out. Okay, well, I'll take that into consideration, but I'm not going to do it that way because I think it'll detract from the overall product.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff it's been with his help and with his guidance, which has been really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this the keyhole that you had found.
Yeah.
And is this like your hard drive activity, or
that's well, it's the start button, and then I think I'm just gonna have it be the power on LED.
Yeah.
So if that header doesn't have enough juice to drive it, I'll just have it be nothing, or I'll just have it, power it up through the rest of the system.
We're coming up to one of my favorite pictures. This is cool too. You got the parts hanging after you've cleared them. There's the build he's creating. That's actually it's going to have a what case was it again? That's going to be the case inside the chassis.
It's a Node 304.
Fractal design.
Yes, yeah. It's basically just a motherboard tray.
That reminds me of my grandfather's workshop right there.
That's all. My dad salvaged all that stuff from a place he worked at. It was like a it's like a, not like a volunteer camp, but it's like a summer camp, and they do stuff for like people with physical disability and stuff like that. And they get a lot of donations, and somebody donated all this old hardware, and it's just like all this just totally bizarre collection of stuff.
Yeah, but the way it's displayed is just badass. I mean, it's like you can see everything, the little jars you could pull out. I mean...
Well, so that cabinet, too, I don't know if I have a picture of that cabinet. It's the... It's the old windows from our house. So our house was built in 1910.
There's work going on in this place.
It's dirty. Yeah, I look at Moss's shop and like, you can eat off any surface in there. And this is like, there's a stump right there.
It's because I sweep.
Well, all right, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Hand tubes are also a little bit less messy too.
It's awesome.
It's clutter. There's so much clutter.
I know. No, your worklog really gives you an idea of being there, though, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like when I take a picture, I was thinking about it today, and I mean, there's maybe 10% of the pictures where I'll actually move a light to get better lighting, or move the piece.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Are we having a zoo moment?
We're having a zoo moment. He just got his
Google
audio
has Googled out, it sounds like.
We do nothing bad. It's Google that decides to do these things.
I think Stu just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Hey. We'll keep checking out. But yeah, check out his project log. If you dig it, drop in there, say, hey man, this is awesome, great work. That's another thing about project logs, is that we try to all just drop in once in a while when you can and encourage people to keep pushing forward. This is awesome. This is a great example of a good work log to follow. There's a Natura fans. And look, these fans will fit right at home in this build too. So, all right, Moss, do you have one?
Probably. I think, I don't know. I mean, really, like, to pick a favorite, that's hard. Because for me, there's a lot of things that I like in a project log. Like, sometimes I like, you just see some great work going on, and it's like, wow, this case looks awesome. this is fantastic work. And sometimes it's also more about the process, like, people that share how they do things so that other people can do the same thing is kind of also something I enjoy paying attention to. But I think one of my favorite, so I'm not going to say the favorite, but one of them is Project Stealthflow was probably...
Oh, yeah, Wanio again.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite work logs to follow. And these aren't even final pictures, believe it or not. Like, he still has probably a good 5 or 8 pages worth of updates after this, but everything was shared, and even the stuff that didn't work so well. Like, he was never afraid to show pictures like, hey, so I tried this and it looked like this. It turned out like complete crap. So I'm going to try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly documenting every stage.
Yeah. And so it just, the level of detail in that was always kind of fun. And then the other thing too is only, I'd say, maybe 10% of his work logs were pictures, and the other 90% of his work log posts were him responding to people in his work log, which is always nice to see.
Yeah.
Because we're not always there just to share. Yeah, see, like, here's a bunch of replying to people. And so I think that's one of my favorite work logs was Stealthflow. That was one of the things that really got me into the community, so to speak. Like, I knew about modding and I knew what it was about, and I was kind of getting into it. 2011, 2010, I don't even know when it started, probably 2009. This was another long project log, yeah. So end of 2010 is when this one started. And that was around when I started getting active in the communities, and to just kind of see all of that and to see the interaction and to see people take the time to, post their updates and then also respond to everybody that had comments or suggestions or questions is one of the biggest reasons why I joined communities for this sort of a thing. Is it's like, oh, hey, there's other people that actually kind of care what other people have to say and what other people are asking, and they'll take the time to answer. And that's something I always like.
Very, very solid reasons to get into it. I was just looking at the comments on YouTube, and David Insolent Known mentioned, I like Cheeps logs because you get the ups and downs, just like you're mentioning about Waney and stuff. And Dave's a great example too of somebody that, let's try an experiment, guys. This is what I'm doing. Let's see what the results are. Oh, okay. Plan B. And then maybe get some feedback from some people. All right, let's see how that works out. So it invites your audience in to the experiment with you.
Yeah, there's always, every now and then you'll come across one of those logs, you're like, and now that I've burned through about $100 worth of material, I think I got it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Stu?
Yeah, now that I'm back, I'm not sure what happened there. I have 2. I have a Cheeps log to share.
I'm not
Cheeps
surprised.
He's, let's see, all right.
It's not the one that spans 3 years, is it?
Oh.
No, this is his latest one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm one to talk. My work log's getting on forever now, but Cheeps' stuff is so, he's one of the guys that when he talks, there's a lot of comedy in his comments. So you just brings a smile to your face. I don't know. I identify with a lot of the stuff when he talks about just the jokes he makes. And hearing him on the podcast too, you totally understand him and hear where he's coming from.
Yeah, and he's got an environment too that you gotta wonder what's his environment like. I mean, he never really shows the whole.
Yeah, it's you want the shop tour. You want the cheap shop tour just I don't know.
When you catch a glimpse of something, it's like, where is this and when is this? It's like, why is there's an old hardline phone there from the 40s or something? It's just
Yeah. I feel like this would make a lot more sense if I knew the context.
Yeah, it's like, well, where did you pull that from? This is just, I don't know, he's just absurd.
And his pictures are really small still, aren't they? Like, what, 640? They're not 640, are they still?
Well, when you host your pictures on a potato.
Right.
Yes. No, and that thing, he's got like a single cylinder lawnmower engine or something he's goofing around with. Isn't that what that was?
I'm not. Yeah.
It's like yeah. It's like from a lawnmower or something. Yeah.
Ghetto pump. It's like, I don't know. You just like what? I don't know. Very ingenious.
Yeah.
A lot of ingenious things going on, which I think are always great.
Yeah. And you know what? It reminds me of too. Like, it reminds me of like really old school customizing or building. Like my grandfather would be in his garage with limited tools. This is something he found, and he's going to make it into something else. You know.
I was going to say, Cheeps is the master of make it work with what I have.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's fun to have that challenge too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of I don't know, some of the stuff I've done recently too. It's like, well, what can I do with what I have instead of
buying new?
Right. It just forces you to be creative and figure out a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. The what I have versus what I can get.
Yeah. And that was my grandfather. I mean, he grew up, he didn't have any money, he was poor. It's like, you know, from Norway, it's like, what do we have around here? What can we find in the alley?
One of my mom's favorite stories from when she was younger is when she had a Volkswagen Beetle, and she had a broken taillight cover. And so my grandpa grabbed a can of turtle wax, and the cover was red, and it was the exact size of the round taillight. And so my mom drove around with a turtle wax cover on the taillight for years. Because that's a hell of a lot cheaper than an actual new taillight.
Yeah, exactly. It's that Depression era kind of mentality, you know. Grandparents, they experienced that, you know, saving everything in bags, you know, like, I mean, when they pass away and you have to go through their house and clean it and organize stuff, it's like, why did you keep all this garbage? But
that's what I was just going to say is my grandfather unfortunately passed away last fall, and so my grandparents ended up with his cabin. So now they have both of them, but we were spending some time going through and cleaning all that kind of stuff out because, like, when they moved out of their townhouse in Rochester, a lot of it went to storage in his cabin because that was already being paid for. So we were just going through and cleaning out a bunch of stuff, and we came across, like, just all kinds of random stuff. Like, oh, here's a jar full of random stoppers, like the little rubber bumper things, and here's a whole box full of assorted push pins. And look, we found a bag full of like bowl covers. They look like shower caps, but they're from different size serving bowls. My grandma had tons of them because then you didn't have to use Saran wrap. You could wash them and use them again.
Right.
It's like, well, I guess, you know, it worked.
Stu, you got another one queued up there?
Yeah, I picked this one. One of my favorite parts about Worklogs is when someone, I think you guys talked about it maybe the last Worklog one, when someone does something new, and also really good instructions,
cool.
like how to. So this is Attila's blog.
He's got a blog now. I didn't know
He's got
that.
a blog, and apparently it hasn't. I actually stumbled across this in someone else's Worklog. They mentioned this post. Apparently he doesn't update very often, but this one was pretty. This is February 15th of this year, so a pretty recent update. And he's making a 180 24-pin power connector. So he's using solid strand wire, and he does just an excellent job of like going through and detailing his process.
That's really interesting.
So he's epoxying, and here's his cave, or his connector, and then he ends up painting it, makes a bracket.
You know what? And looking at this is a great product idea too.
Oh yeah, it really is.
A way to hide your wires.
Yeah.
That's great.
And people have fought with it so much over modding, having no wire. So that's his solution. It's pretty ingenious and well documented. So.
And his URL is stillthinking.com.au for Australia. Cool.
Here's his.
Oh, hey, there's his whatchamacallit build. Remember? I don't remember the name of it. With the turbine fans.
Yeah, some of his builds are some of my favorite because there's such good combinations. He has a couple that are really good combinations of wood and aluminum, and he has just some remarkable aluminum working skills too.
All handcrafted.
Yeah, the one that Stu just clicked on is pretty insane.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Yeah, he's real artisan.
Yeah, very much so. So, yeah, those are my picks.
Drew, how about you, man?
Well, give me a second here to actually get the screen share queued up properly. Let's see here if you remember that website, Bill.
Yes, pimprig.com. That was the very first community that I joined, and I think it was like 2000 or 2001. I'm thinking.
All right, Jeremy, no matter what you do, don't send out a link to the reshare of that project log on the Modzu. Crashes the servers every time.
Yeah.
Well, last time it was picked up by ThinkGeek. Yep. So what I liked about this log is it is a narrative. This was the very first work log that really drug me back multiple times, and unfortunately, because the forum has gone away, that work log as it developed is long gone. But they decided to make this a featured article, and so they stripped out a lot of the byplay, unfortunately, so you don't get that back and forth communication between Wix and the forum as far as, well, I'm designing this part here, what do you guys think? But he did rewrite the entire thing into a single solid narrative, and that's what I've got saved back on the Modzu. What this is archive.org's backup of it, and they managed to get most of it, which was really good. But it just takes you through the process of he figured out that he wanted to have a coffee maker in his PC so he could set a timer, go to bed, and wake up to a fresh cuppa. And he started off by stripping down the coffee maker, figuring out exactly what it was that did the whole thing. The heat coil, which boiled the water, the one-way valve, which only allowed the water to go out that direction instead of back up into the reservoir. Built his own epoxy, he epoxied sealed his own acrylic box for the water. Did the whole 9 yards, created his own LED. This right here was actually, for the time, was quite the expensive part of the project because LEDs were not cheap in the early 2000s. And he's also designing his own fuse board, so when the different heating elements come on, they don't just blow out the power supply. And yeah, just for me, because again, this was what drug me into following mods really intensely. This has got to be, hands down, always going to be my favorite mod from beginning to end. And the work log, and there you can see that's where that stuff disappeared. So
it's one of the most iconic ones for our hobby because when it was it just had mass media attention to it. Actually, what it did is it really invited people or showed people what PC modding was that had no idea what we were doing. It broke that wall down, and all the tech sites were sharing it. And unfortunately, I don't see that as much anymore, where the tech sites are sharing this type of stuff. So it's like we've kind of been more isolated in our own community.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, look at it, and the way it turned out, it's so fun. You know, he's got the pot on top as well, and the lighting, and
Yeah, it's such a great build. Like,
yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, it's so conversational. You know,
And it looks surprisingly modern still.
it does. Yeah.
Like you look at some case
Yeah.
mods and you're like, oh, that's definitely an old mod, but this one is actually it looks like it could have been a new case. Like,
And
I don't know.
with a couple of additions, you could change the theme a little bit. So instead of just a coffee pot, because this is your standard run-of-the-mill Mr. Coffee pot, you could add some brass fixtures, and all of a sudden you've got a cappuccino machine.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Still only makes coffee, but it looks like it belongs in a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And to me, also, this was a great highlight of what it really meant to have an everyday usable item modded into your computer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that to me is, I think, one of the classics of all time.
Right on. Well, what we should do too is in the future is like share a classic. Let's pull up one of those classic mods that we all had seen and inspired us. Yeah, we can share that in future episodes. We don't have that much time left. We could probably hit a Q&A. There's a good one from Spartan Mods. Let's see here. Spartan Mods on the forum, or I'm sorry, RE Spartan, and he posted this in our Hangouts Q&A section, which Moss had started. So you can go to the forum, and under the Hangouts Weekly Staff Hangout subforum, you'll find the Hangout Q&A. This was a pretty good question. He asked, with water cooling being made inside PC case panels now, and if you guys know who's doing that, let me know. I don't know who's doing that out there. What do you think is the next step for water cooling or cooling in general? Where do you guys think liquid cooling is going with our market?
I like that question because it really makes you think, and I honestly don't know. Like, we're already hardlining. We're seeing people, because what I bet what he's talking about is I've seen people where they mill a panel and then they mill another panel that goes behind it that has the G quarter threaded holes for it. So that way they have like the channels, kind of like the
It's like a custom panel manifold.
yeah, manifold. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think
Hope does a lot of that.
Yeah.
Others have started a lot too now. I don't know if he started that, but
yeah.
his last few builds have had a lot of it.
I don't know that I see mainstream water cooling going that direction, because that's very, very specific to your system. Like, you change what motherboard you have or what graphics card you have, and the location of things might change. But as far as custom setting, like, I'm modding, I'm going to do this myself and do exactly what I want, I think that still requires a bit of special access. Like, you're not going to really be able to do that by hand very effectively. Like, I think that's going to require some sort of CNC access.
Because of the seal on it.
Yeah.
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 And the O-rings.
You don't have a lot of error if you start messing around with the sealing stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got to be precise. I think, like for all-in-one stuff, that, I don't know if we want to bring that into conversation, but that seems like it's just kind of stagnant.
I mean, like, where development is gone, it's kind of like they haven't really pushed that
Yeah, it's just a different cover. You know, you get a different cover, you get different cooling profile features.
Yeah. Well, they like the Deep Cool Genome, and then EK's got their all-in-one where they've expanded the radiator size. Also, SwiftTech.
SwiftTech too.
I think the next step was like modularity, where you can swap out the block, you can swap out the radiator with either a quick disconnect or just using G-quarter fittings that allow you, to use your own and stuff like that.
I should see if I have them here. Give me a second. I've got some pictures from CES from EVGA. They did quick disconnects.
By the way, Stu, when is their case coming out again? What's the deals on that? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't talked with them about it at all.
I don't know anything about it, so I'm just throwing that out there so that you know where I'm coming from. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was primarily purely marketing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we never actually saw it come to market.
They didn't even make it.
Yeah. It seemed like they were just like, well, we're just feeling out the market. But they did the Hadron too, so it's.
But do they even still, like Moss? Do they even still make the Hadron anymore? They don't make that anymore, do they?
I have no idea. That was pretty niche.
And it was expensive for what it was too.
Yeah, and it had a not proprietary, but it had that small, like 1U size power supply, and you could only get a certain size.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. What I think may happen with that market, the DIY market, is manufacturers I think they should consider is reservoirs, somehow incorporating a reservoir into a chassis so you don't have to purchase a reservoir, an aftermarket one. That could be like the first step into catering to more of the DIY market. There's the quick disconnects.
Yeah, here's the pics from the EVGA quick disconnects.
I don't like that. I think
they look clunky.
I'm not like working on semi-trailer trucks on the braking system. You know what I mean? It's too oversized.
And then the other thing to think about too is not all cases have that much room for your graphics cards either. Like that looked like
that case was huge.
But I mean, like the graphics cards, you're not going to be able to get a hard 90-degree bend out of that. Like just looking at it,
No. And like, who is, unless you're like one of these, who is swapping out video cards that much to use quick disconnects on the liquid system?
Graham and Jesse, apparently.
Yeah.
Jesse,
if they were doing like if they were dedicated to using that one system for different cases, reviews, or something, I don't know. But yeah.
And it's like, do you really want to have the same case for like 8 years? And keep switching all your stuff. I was like, no, that's half the fun is getting a new case. Well, for us, I mean, at least, is modding and tearing into a new case. And
I was going to say that was my biggest thing too. It's like, well, I mean, then if you're tired of this hardware, then just do a new mod.
Yeah.
This is a big. I had the last podcast that we did. What the hell? And this is something that Smoke Dog Arma on the YouTube chat brought up. Graphics cards are silly sizes these days, bricks. It is. I just had a conversation the other day complaining about how ridiculous the GPUs are, these non-reference 980 Ti cards are. You're talking almost 13 inches long, 3.5 pounds.
And then they're taller too. Like they're like, oh, we don't have enough room. So,
you have to take 2.5 PCI slots to mount it in there. Now, I've got this tower here that's it was designed to take a tri-SLI setup in it, but the particular video cards that I have, these 980 Ti's, I can't get them all to fit in there. This is 2016. I mean, aren't we supposed to go smaller with this stuff?
Give it about 4 years, Bill.
Yeah, I would say you would think so.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I think.
But if you water cool your graphics cards, you're down to 2 slots every time.
Yeah. You save space.
Sometimes 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that?
We could get into water cooling power supplies. That's
yeah,
deep.
Cool.
That's Deep
From
Cool
CES.
at CES. Yeah.
You need to share that again. It disappeared.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
it now?
Everybody watching, what do you think about liquid cooling power supplies? That means you guys too on watching on the YouTube stream. What do you think about that?
Kind of scary.
We.
I mean, I think it's mostly unnecessary, to be honest, because like
Yeah.
I have power supplies where the fan doesn't even turn on.
Right.
You know, it's like the efficiency is at a level where unless the load gets up to 50%, the fan just never turns on. So why do I need to run liquid through it to keep it cool?
I think what it is, it's marketing people sitting down with the product developers, and somebody's like, you know, I see a lot of this liquid cooling is going on right now. These all-in-ones are selling like crazy.
What can we do? What can we do next? Yeah.
Oh, I got it. SSDs. Let's water cool SSDs.
Remember when we used to have well, actually they're still around, but the hard drive water blocks?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Coolants made them. Drew was salivating at them.
You know, I think with the with PCIe slot SSDs, there's probably
I can see that.
They get pretty hot. There's a valid water cooling need there, I think.
Actually, the Intel, the new 750 ones, their PCI slot version of their first NVMe ones, they actually apparently run quite warm, and so they have specific water blocks out for those. I think EK made those, or somebody did.
And you know, okay, first off, too, let's not be, you shouldn't water cool, blah, blah, blah. You know what, guys, if you want a water cool power supply, it's crazy. It's over the top. I mean, that's something that will get a lot of attention in a project log. So don't look at us like, why are these guys being so nitpicky about it? But we're just saying from a product standpoint, it just doesn't really make sense for the mainstream. I don't think something like that would be I don't think it'd be really successful.
I mean, I was just going to say that's a good point, because a lot of times the aesthetic of water cooling is the whole reason to water cool, because one of my builds, I water cooled an AM1 CPU. I mean, that's a 23-watt processor.
Was that tiny little radiator that you had? Was that
It was a dual 80mm radiator.
Yeah, dual 80mm radiator.
Yeah, I water cooled the AM1 processor and like a GT 730 graphics card low profile thing, and then I was like, yeah. But it looks cool.
I think what it is too is this is another thing. It's about the journey. It's about the building process that we love so much. I mean, just creating the stuff, and sometimes when you end a project, you kind of get that depressed mood after. It's like it's all done. My journey's all over until I start the next one. But I think when you go and you liquid cool something like a power supply, it's fun to do. Okay, let's do this and try to do it in a way that looks really cool and efficient, and share it just for fun. And people are like, oh, okay, why are you doing that? Well, okay, it's entertaining, you know. So have an open mind is basically what we're trying to say too. So, all right. That's a good question. Don't forget, gang, to post those questions in the forum, so we've got somewhere where we can refer back to them if we miss your question somewhere else, like on Facebook. Sometimes that happens, you know.
Yes, indeed. So we're gonna wrap it up here because we actually slammed by the hour.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just destroyed that hour.
It's a good one.
No, that flowed quite nicely. That felt really good. So just a reminder that you can find us at themodζoo.com. On Facebook, The Mod Zoo is our account name there. On Twitter, we are at The Mod Zoo. And on Google, we are plus The Mod Zoo, or however they do their little standard. Whatever. Just look for The Mod Zoo. You can find us on any of those locations. And if you go to the forum, you can also find the direct links to each one of our little social media sites. And if you have any questions, comments, on the forums we do now have our Hangout grouping area, so each episode is going to be posted up there. We also have the Q&A sections, and just come on in, ask us some questions, throw something at us that you want to have answered on a later ModZoo Hangout, or if you whatever you just want to offer up suggestions for future episodes, that'd be fantastic.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah. You guys have anything else to close out with, or are we all set?
No, I think I'm good.
Thanks everybody for watching. It's fun to also catch you in the YouTube chat room. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Just if you like an episode or something, share it. Get it. Try to get the word out there, and we can tell that we're growing. And we've also got a guest for another upcoming one. We're going to cover the subject of scratch building PCs, and hopefully have Stu back with us as a woodcrafter. And this is a topic that Mosquito really likes too, scratch building stuff. And so,
talk to Moss.
But we'll have a special guest.
Oh, I could easily burn through the hour just by myself if you got me going.
So when we all want to take a break, you can just run your scratch build episode alone.
Yeah, all of a sudden we get a message. I'm not going to join this weekend. Don't worry, I got this.
Okay. All right.
Don't need anybody that week.
All right, guys. So thanks again. It's been a wonderful hour and about 15 minutes or so. And yeah, you guys get out there, grab something, chop it up, make it yours, paint it, whatever. Just go mod something, would you?
Right on.